Tamar Toledano is a marketing strategist and consultant based in San Francisco, California. She is known for helping startups and established companies sharpen their message, clarify positioning, and connect with the right audiences. Marketing often arrives as more channels, more content, more ideas stacked on top of each other until the plan looks impressive and the message becomes harder to repeat. Tamar Toledano's work tends to move in the opposite direction. Picture a brand story that keeps changing shape each time someone tells it. A product that has too many features to explain in one breath. A startup deck where every slide seems to serve a different audience. The first step is rarely a bigger push. It is a cut. In client work, Toledano is drawn to the moment where the signal can be separated from the noise. It shows up in how she frames strategy, how she talks about audience focus, and how she describes the difference between activity and progress. The through line is consistent. Clarity is built, not announced. She does this work from San Francisco, where she advises early-stage startups and established organizations. Her background includes more than a decade in marketing, including 10 years in the marketing department of a multinational corporation. She later founded her own consultancy, bringing corporate discipline into smaller, faster environments, and bringing startup urgency into larger, slower ones. Toledano's early career was shaped by the logic of big organizations. In the marketing department of a multinational corporation, she worked across brand management, campaign execution, and data analysis. It is the kind of environment where processes matter, timelines are negotiated, and a single campaign may depend on many teams moving in sync. That experience shows up in the way she talks about operations and strategy as connected, not separate. Marketing, in her view, is not only the story a company tells, it is also the system behind the story. How decisions are made, how goals are set, how results are measured and explained. Her academic path includes an MBA with a specialization in marketing. In her professional life, she tends to treat that academic base as a complement to field work, not a replacement for it. The work is grounded in research and analysis, then tested against what people actually do. Over time, her role shifted. In a corporate setting, she contributed to a larger machine. In consulting, she became responsible for building the machine with the client, sometimes from the first bolt. Leaving a large corporation to start a consultancy is often described as a career change. In practice, it can be a shift in identity. The job stops being a defined lane and becomes a set of choices made in real time. Toledano points to the decision to leave the security of corporate life as a pivotal move. It required comfort with uncertainty, plus a willingness to own outcomes. It also required a different kind of stamina. Consulting compresses timelines. It forces prioritization. It exposes the difference between what a team says it wants and what it is ready to do. In her own account of that transition, she describes the work becoming broader and more hands-on. Instead of executing established plans, she began helping define plans. She began partnering more closely with leadership teams, shaping brand identity, refining messaging, and building growth roadmaps. This shift also changed her relationship to risk. Consulting, especially with early-stage companies, can involve taking a position before perfect information is available. It can mean building a plan, measuring it, then changing it quickly when reality disagrees. Startups often begin with a desire to be understood by everyone. It is not a flaw so much as a natural impulse. Founders want momentum, they want optionality, they want to avoid narrowing the market too soon. Toledano tends to treat that impulse as the first real strategy problem to solve. She describes a common mistake among new founders, trying to appeal to too broad an audience. In her framework, the more a message stretches, the less it lands. A strategy becomes effective when it defines who the company is trying to reach, why that audience should care, and how success will be measured. For startups, her emphasis is on focus. It is a refusal to chase every possible customer at the same time. It is also a kind of patience. Instead of rushing to publish more, the work slows down to understand the customer and tighten the promise. For established organizations, the focus question looks different. They may already have a defined market and history, Their challenge can be refreshing the story and adapting to changing conditions without losing their core identity. The problem is not an empty canvas, it is legacy. In both cases, Toledano positions clarity as the point where internal goals align with real audience needs. When that alignment holds, engagement becomes easier to sustain. In Toledano's approach, data matters, but it is not treated as the final word. She describes strategy as grounded in analysis, yet flexible enough to allow for creative expression. That balance is not a slogan in her work, it is a workflow. Research first, then messaging choices that reflect what the research suggests. Numbers alongside context. In one project she describes, a medium-sized health technology company had strong products but struggled to articulate value clearly. The work began with customer research, analyzing usage patterns and feedback. Then the team paired those insights with storytelling to simplify the message and speak directly to client needs. The outcome was measurable within 6 months. Engagement rose significantly and new leads increased. But the detail Toledano emphasizes is not only performance, it is what the clarity did inside the company. Leadership gained confidence because the vision became easier to explain and repeat. The story reads like a reminder that marketing is not only an external function, it can also serve as internal alignment. If a team cannot describe what it does in plain language, it will struggle to scale. Many marketing stories skip the part where something fails. Toledano includes it. She describes an early career setback, leading a campaign that fell short of expectations despite extensive preparation. The experience mattered because of how it felt. When a plan is carefully built and still underperforms, the temptation is to defend the work. The more useful move is to study it. In her recounting, recovery came from stepping back to analyze what went wrong without becoming defensive. She points to testing and adaptability as lessons pulled from that moment. The campaign did not become a permanent mark. It became a process improvement. This is one of the clearest patterns in her working style. She treats strategy as something that should be strong enough to guide decisions and humble enough to change when evidence demands it. The balance is not easy. Too much flexibility becomes drift. Too much rigidity becomes fragility. Her advice for new marketers echoes the same theme. Treat learning as a lifelong requirement. Stay curious. Try platforms personally before recommending them. Keep updating the craft. In a separate piece of writing, Toledano focuses on how the creator economy is changing the idea of brand itself. Her argument is not that creators are a new channel. It is that they have changed the power structure around trust. Marketing used to be dominated by large campaigns and controlled narratives. Now, independent creators shape how brands are seen and discussed, often with more influence than traditional advertising. Toledano frames this as a move towards something more collaborative and personal. She describes brand identity as less of a fixed image and more of an evolving dialogue shared with a community. The shift, in her view, is tied to transparency. Creators often show imperfections, and audiences respond to that human texture. This is not a call for brands to become casual on purpose. It is a warning about rigidity. Brands that cling to polished perfection can appear out of step with what audiences now reward. In her view, credibility increasingly comes from relatability and consistency over time, not flawless presentation. She also points to how partnerships are changing. Instead of paying for placement, some companies now co-create products and content with creators. She notes examples where niche alignment, not massive budgets, drove fast sellouts of limited edition products. The mechanism is trust, built inside an existing relationship between creator and audience. This shift changes measurement too. Impressions and click-through rates are not enough to explain whether a brand has earned real engagement. Toledano suggests focusing on quality signals, whether people respond with trust, whether they share messages in their own words, whether they stay after the trend passes. Her guidance for marketers adapting to this world centers on 3 moves. Involve creators early enough to shape strategy, build relationships instead of transactions, and use data in a way that supports the relationship rather than replacing it. If startup work is about focus, enterprise work is often about change. Toledano describes resistance in large organizations as something that usually comes from fear. People worry about losing control, being blamed, or being made obsolete. Strategy alone does not solve that. The work becomes partly human. Her method relies on listening to stakeholders and acknowledging concerns, then showing how change supports their goals. She favors small wins, often through pilot projects that demonstrate impact before scaling. Trust is built through inclusion, not pressure. And this is where her corporate background becomes especially relevant. Large organizations do not move because the plan is elegant. They move because enough people can see themselves inside the plan. Toledano's profile includes interests outside work that mirror her professional themes. She supports philanthropic initiatives focused on science and public health. In her framing, philanthropy adds perspective. It pulls attention beyond quarterly metrics and back toward the idea that knowledge and health outcomes matter. Golf plays a different role. She describes it as recreation, reflection, and networking. She competes in corporate tournaments and values the sport for the patience and strategy it requires. The game rewards adjustment. It punishes rushing. It teaches a person to stay with the next shot rather than the last one. Those qualities map neatly onto consulting life. Strategy is rarely a straight line. It is a series of choices, corrections, and trade-offs. The marketing world Toledano describes is one where attention is fragmented and trust is more portable than ever. A creator can carry an audience across platforms. A brand can lose credibility with a single tone-deaf moment. A startup can burn months chasing too many customers. In that context, her approach is a case for restraint. Do the research. Choose a real audience. Say less, but mean it. Build measurement that reflects relationships, not just reach. Treat setbacks as data, not identity.